Popcorn Poops is brought to you by Audible.com. Please visit audibletrial.com/popcornpoops for a free audiobook and a free 30-day trial of their subscription service. Audible is the internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 150,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, nonfiction, and periodicals. Audible.com is offering a free audiobook download to listeners of Popcorn Poops along with a 30-day trial of their services. This week, we're recommending The Disaster Artist, My Life Inside the Room, the greatest bad movie ever made, by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell, narrated by Greg Sestero. To download this or another audiobook of your choice, visit audibletrial.com/popcornpoops. Again, that's audibletrial.com/popcornpoops for your free audiobook.
My name is Dustin.
And my name is Jessica.
We are the Popcorn Poops. Here at Popcorn Poops HQ, we produce a movie podcast and commentary track hybrid that may be synced up to whatever film we're talking about or enjoyed as a standalone audio program.
Today we will be watching the 2003 film The Room, directed by Tommy Wiseau. If you are syncing this recording up to the movie, go ahead and start the film and then press pause as soon as the title card reading Chloe Productions/TPW Films Presents completely fades to black.
It's time to start the movie. Syncers, press play at the beep after the countdown. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And I guess I just got tired of us watching the great movies of my childhood and I guess the great movies of your childhood, and I just wanted to watch something really, really terrible. So I chose the greatest bad movie ever made, The Room, directed by Mr. Tommy Wiseau.
And I really appreciate that.
So, am I tearing you apart?
Oh, God.
Oh, we're not there yet. Actually, I want to start off by apologizing about the messy syncing thing where you have to sync to the Chloe Productions, TPW Films Presents, all that kind of junk. The version of the movie we're watching is one of the Blu-ray releases where there is only one vanity card, one Wiseau Films vanity card. But as I understand it, there are DVD releases that have 2 or 3 vanity cards, all for Wiseau Films.
Oh my!
Just different ones. I guess Mr. Wiseau could not decide on which one he liked the best, so he was like, "Fuck it, put them all." So, yeah, we're watching The Room, and right now we're seeing the opening credits with some lovely shots of San Francisco and all of the lovely things that go along with it, like Alcatraz Island. Like when you think of the beauty and majesty of the San Francisco Bay Area, you think of a high security prison. Is that right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
definitely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's what I think of.
A lot of these locations will actually get reused in what one would call establishing shots if they were actually establishing anything, but
right.
Usually they're just used as cutaways between scenes that have no connection to the scenes themselves.
Tommy's on this trolley here.
He is, and you can see written by Tommy Wiseau. I believe the next credit is produced by Tommy Wiseau, and then finally directed by Tommy Wiseau. 3 in a row. That totally goes against convention, I guess. It's a vanity thing. If you have more than one credit on a movie, like you're a writer director or something, typically you
try to separate it.
You don't try to separate it. That's what you don't want to do.
Oh.
But Mr. Wiseau insisted.
Oh, no. I'm okay. I see what you're saying. Like you try and like writer/director or something.
Exactly.
Like
You say
okay.
written, produced, and directed by whoever. But no, separate credits for Mr. Wiseau because he deserves the best.
Well, he does. Oh, God. Are we really doing this?
This might be our most unhinged, off the rails episode yet. I can see this just evolving into us laughing, just nothing, no commentary, nothing, just laughing. But here, of course, we've got our 2 lead characters. Lisa, played by Juliette Danielle, and Johnny, played by Mr. Tommy Wiseau himself.
What? Okay, so let's hear about great Denny or Dinny or Danny or whatever the hell his name is supposed to be.
It is officially Denny.
God, this kid creeps me out so hard. Like he bothers me really hard in this movie. His whole like, oh when he asks if he can kiss her, and like when they have the pillow fight in the bed in a second.
He's like, I just want to watch you guys.
I really hate. And like the stuff he says sounds like the kind of stuff that maybe my kindergartners would say to me. You know, like, you're so pretty, can I kiss you? Or something like that.
Like,
but I mean, he's what, in high school or something?
I think he's supposed to. They say something about him.
Oh, wait, his tuition's being paid for
right,
college.
So he must be like a freshman in college. And I do believe that in the original script, I've heard that his character was supposed to be mentally challenged.
Ah, okay.
But he doesn't really come across as mentally challenged in this. He comes across as just fucking creepy as all hell.
Okay, yeah, I didn't, well, I mean, no, I didn't get that. I just thought he was maybe sexually challenged.
Yeah. Yeah, this is it's really
God,
awkward.
so
Yeah, the pillow
weird.
fighting on the bed and
Also, we just saw her open a present and it was wrapped in like leopard print. And if someone ever gave me a gift wrapped in leopard print wrapping paper,
I'd be like, thanks, but no thanks. You got the receipt?
don't worry about it. I'm not even going to open it.
Yeah, in the opening credits, we did see a couple of names that I wanted to mention. Chloe Litsky, which also appeared in the opening title card, Chloe Productions / TPW Films. Chloe Litsky may or may not have helped to finance this movie. She is also listed as an executive producer. According to the book The Disaster Artist by Greg Sestero, who actually plays Mark in this movie, she may have also been Tommy Wiseau's girlfriend or sugar mama, if you will, perhaps.
Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of unclear what her role was. I don't know that Greg Sestero or anybody involved with this movie, aside from, of course, Tommy Wiseau himself, has ever met her. Another executive producer, the third executive producer, is a man named Drew Caffrey, who actually died some years before this movie was ever even written. So
That's really weird.
yeah, and if you look at the end credits, he's also got a few other credits like script supervisor and San Francisco casting, I believe, as well, which of course he could not have done. Like, those are actual jobs. Like,
But he had been dead like years before the script was even written.
Right,
so.
right. Like, a producer in name only is not terribly uncommon for, one reason or another. But script supervisor is an actual job with job
that means
duty.
that just nobody supervised
exactly.
this.
That's what that means.
That makes some sense. Why was there a
That
reference
explains
made?
the continuity. What?
Why was there a reference made to the earliest 20th century folk ballad, "Oh Danny Boy"? She said, "Denny Boy."
Oh, well, I mean, this was written by a man who does not speak English as a first language. So, and in a lot of ways, I think this movie kind of is his, I don't know, maybe like a study project, an English study project. There are a lot of like phrases and English phrases that are used in this. Like later on, the character Michelle says something like XYZ, examine your zipper, which people don't really say.
Yeah,
like,
no. Maybe when I
it's
was
a
like
bad
in
joke.
elementary
Yeah.
school, right?
Yeah, something like that. I feel like this is partially kind of a study project for him, like as far as English is concerned. I think there was also a theory that Chloe Litsky could have been his ESL teacher in San Francisco.
This is also the greatest song in the whole movie, by the way.
Oh my god. Do you know who does this music? I don't know who does this music. It's all, I guess.
I don't know. It seemed to be like all the same two people, but like in
Yeah.
various, not the same composer.
I think it's all like work for hire studio musicians.
But it
and
seemed to
songwriters
be
and
two of the Kitra Williams and Wayman Davis, whoever they are, seem to be on most of these songs.
stuff. Okay. Yeah, this is this sex scene right here is, I think, almost 4 minutes long, which for normal movie, like Hollywood movie standards, is really long. For like Skinamax softcore porn standards, it's a little short. So it's somewhere between Hollywood sex scene and straight up like softcore porn.
I was standing in the way of a bullet.
Is this happening?
This song sounds like someone who left a 90s boy band.
It looks like he's humping her belly button.
Like, it sounds like someone who
left... Is this how you do it, Lisa?
A 90s boy band that wasn't nearly as popular as like Backstreet Boys or NSYNC or something. Something like Westlife or LFO or Five or something. And they tried to make like their own career, their solo career, like 10 years too late. That's kind of what that song sounded like.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you're probably right about that.
Her boobs get so much exposure in this movie that they need their own credit.
Damn it, I was going to make that joke.
What?
You stole it from me.
I'm sorry.
You know, I guess Mr. Wiseau had such a good time performing in this sex scene that he decided to suddenly write in a second love scene that pops up really not that much later. I think in another 10 minutes we get another love scene. But the Juliette Danielle, the woman who plays Lisa, was uncomfortable doing it. So as a compromise, the second love scene is actually made up of unused footage from this love scene, which was originally supposed to be 6 minutes long.
Oh my God.
Yes, this love scene was originally supposed to be 6 minutes long, which is a lot closer to that Skinamax softcore porn standard. And we just saw his ass.
So she was uncomfortable doing it with him again, right? Because she does it with the other guy.
She does. The
Mark,
who played by Greg Sestero.
Like 2 more times or so.
Yeah.
There are 4 sex scenes in this movie?
I think there are. That's right. There are 2 with Tommy and 2 with Mark.
But the 2 with Tommy are actually just the same sex scene, but just cut out pieces from this first one.
Exactly. And the one way you can really tell for sure is that her earrings are the same. And
the fantastic makeup too.
Yeah, right.
Her eyeshadow is killer.
Yeah, the first sex scene she has these blue jewel earrings in, and then in the scene immediately before the second sex scene she's got some different earrings in, and then when it cuts to the second sex scene she's got the blue ones in again. So unless she changed earrings,
I mean, usually before I have sex I like to go and change my earrings to suit the mood.
To sexier earrings,
right?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah, that makes.
I mean,
that's
sense. Normal.
So
the timing in that scene really bothers me because when he gets home, it's like afternoon outside when he's on the trolley and stuff, and he gives her the red dress, and Denny comes in and wants to watch them have sex, and it's like afternoon, and then like when they go up to the bedroom, it seems to have gotten dark really fast, but it's still not like full night outside, and then they have sex for, I don't know, forever, all night, I guess, and immediately fall asleep. It's got to be only like, at earliest, it's got to be only like, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock? Even if this is like the latest sunset time of the year, then it's still going to be like 7 o'clock.
I mean,
or 8.
Unless they had sex like
for hours.
Just tantric sting sex.
And then they go to sleep, and he wakes up at 8:30 in the morning, and immediately, because we see the clock, and then immediately leaves and puts on clothes and goes to work. And that means that he came home and he did not shower. He did not eat dinner. He just had sex until he fell asleep and then woke up and then went back to work.
Well, as Johnny might say, that's life.
Some of the timing in this is really weird. It's all people go to bed really early.
No, there is no sense of time. They talk about how like they're supposed to be married in a couple of weeks, and then they randomly have on tuxes, and they have like kind of a weird throwaway line where they say they're going to take wedding pictures, and then they end up playing football, and then they're not in the tuxes anymore, and it never comes up again, and there's no actual wedding that happens in the movie. And
well, I think the wedding pictures, though, I think it's like, like pre-wedding. I mean,
who does? Do people do that?
Rich people, maybe?
Okay.
I mean, rich people do like engagement photos and stuff too.
He seems to be pretty successful as a banker.
Except that he doesn't own a house.
No, he's in a condo or an apartment or something. I think the outside is the outside of a condo, but the inside, I don't know. I guess it looks like a condo on the inside too.
It seems to be only 2 rooms.
Right. You never see the kitchen.
Also, why is this called The Room?
Yeah. Well, according to Tommy Wiseau, it is intended to evoke a sense of safety for the audience.
What?
Because you can go to the room and feel safe and do things and talk to your friends in the room. And yes. That's his explanation,
God.
is that it's for
It sounds like the title for like a really bad horror movie. Just, noun.
Yeah, or a softcore porn.
Ah, that's true.
Which this kind of looks like.
It does.
I don't know, like the budget for this movie is reportedly around $6 million.
Oh my God.
So there was some money put behind this, but a lot of it was kind of wastefully used. Tommy Wiseau paid for the cameras that he used to shoot this movie, and when I say cameras, I mean he bought at least 2 cameras, one of which was a film camera, the other of which was a high-definition video camera, that he then built a rig to mount both cameras simultaneously and to shoot this movie on 2 formats at the same time.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Totally not understanding that you light video and you light film differently. And then, he had throughout the course of the production of this, which took something like 6 months to film, which is an insanely long time. It took them like 6 months to film an entire Lord of the Rings.
What?
But he had 3 DPs on this. He had 3 cinematographers throughout the course of this because they kept quitting, and every time someone would come in, it would be either Tommy or often, as I understand it, according to the book that Greg Sestero wrote, it would be Greg Sestero himself that would have to explain the fact that there are 2 cameras that were shooting on 2 formats because Tommy just wanted to do something that had never been done before without understanding why it had never been done. Like, it's like, I don't know, it's like this weird kind of James Cameron thing, like, I'm going to do something that's never been done in cinema, except if James Cameron had like a mental problem.
Oh my God.
Which, to be fair, Tommy Wiseau might have a mental problem. He might actually have brain damage, according to the book that Greg Sestero wrote. He's been in at least 2 very serious car accidents in his life, one of which left, I guess, the left side of his face somewhat, not paralyzed, but drooping. He has like an eye droop problem that he's very aware of, and you can kind of see it in this movie. But to this day, like when he makes public appearances and stuff, he wears sunglasses all the time.
Ah, so that's the reason for the sunglasses.
Yeah. He's self-conscious of the eye droop.
Okay. Yeah, so I think you should explain your fascination. I mean, we had seen this before.
Yeah,
I think the first time I ever saw it was when Adult Swim did their it was an April Fool's Day thing, wasn't it?
They actually ran this as an April Fool's Day joke every year between like 2009 and 2011 or 12 or something like that.
Yeah, and that was the first time they did that. That was the first time that I ever saw it. I was just like, what the hell is this? And it was fascinating, and I couldn't stop watching it. And then Tim and Eric had Tommy on the show at some point. And with the Tim and Eric show, it's always a gamble whether or not the person realizes that they're being made fun of or they're not being made fun of.
I think there's certainly, like with Tim and Eric's show, there's certainly a level of exploitation.
There is, and you never are sure what you're getting into. You never know if the person is aware of the exploitation and is doing it under that knowledge, or if they're kind of using that person because
are they in on the joke or not?
Yeah,
right?
Which is what makes that show so fascinating. Also, although somewhat morally questionable when you think about the kind of people that they get on it. But and sex scene number 2 already.
How far are we into this? 17 minutes. Sex scene number 2.
Is this only number 2?
Yes, we have one after this again with Johnny, and then
yes, the pizza sex scene.
Right, toward the end of the movie is another one with Mark. The pizza sex scene.
They order pizza. And
that's right, they do.
And anyways, so that was like my first exposure to this movie was when Adult Swim forced me to watch it, and then like from there, you and we've watched it a couple times when
we first moved to Japan.
We got really inebriated one time and tried to watch it, and
it was really hard. Like I didn't develop a fascination with this movie until I read Greg Sestero's book.
Right.
When I found, because like I was more interested in Tommy Wiseau as a person than I was this movie in particular. I was like, yeah, it's a really bad movie and it's really funny like how bad it is, but I always found it kind of hard to get through, and I always found the most interesting thing about it Tommy Wiseau himself, and he's not actually in this movie all that much. Like for a for a vanity project, it might be the worst vanity project ever, because the movie's like almost an hour and 40 minutes long, and he's in it for less than 40 minutes. So like a true vanity project, he should be in it for at least like 90% of the movie,
Yeah.
and he's not. So yeah, watching the movie for him is kind of a moot point because he's not in it as much as he really should be. But if you look up stuff about him, like I guess pre The Disaster Artist, if you look up stuff about Tommy Wiseau, it's really hard to pin down any information about him whatsoever. Like there are little anecdotes from people here and there that said things like, "Oh yeah, I think I knew that guy. I think he sold like yo-yos or like toy birds on the boardwalk in San Francisco years and years ago. And yeah, I think I saw that guy. He runs like this business that's really like they sell like leather jackets made cheaply in Korea or something." Just little bits and pieces. And then you've got this book that came out last year, and when I picked it up because it sounded really interesting. And I found the thing just incredibly fascinating. Like everything that I wanted to know about Tommy Wiseau is more or less laid out for me in the book, and I really can't recommend it enough. And since then, like the other mysteries about him have kind of been unraveled by people, like people on the internet who have done a little bit of snooping. Like recently, someone did some snooping and revealed that Tommy Wiseau is most likely from Poland. He was in the book. It's revealed that he was from a European bloc country, but it was never revealed what country that was, and that he most likely moved to France, escaped that bloc country into France, lived in France for enough time to actually learn French at a near native level, and then moved to Louisiana to live with his aunt and uncle, and then from there moved to San Francisco and made a life out in California. So a lot of people that speak to him that are from Europe and that are French by birth, for example, Greg Sestero's mother, who is French Canadian, I believe, she spoke to Tommy Wiseau at one point, and she said, "I don't know where he's from, but he's not French. He speaks French, but he's not French." So yeah, he may be from Poland. This scene here at the flower shop, one of the best scenes in the movie.
You think so?
Just like so fascinatingly bungled, and
it's great. I mean, with the pug on the counter and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, some brilliant ad-libbing by a man who can't otherwise really act at all. This line here: "Hi, Tommy. I didn't know it was you. Who did you think it was? Who walks into this shop looking like this?
You're my favorite customer.
You're my favorite customer. Okay, bye."
Oh God! All the greetings in this movie.
So the flower shop owner that played the flower shop owner in that scene is actually the owner of that flower shop. The dog is kind of a stalwart at the shop. It's always on the counter in real life.
This is real life.
Yeah, real life. Like
Okay.
That's the real owner. That's her dog. The dog is always there. Tommy asked if they could film there. She said sure. And then he was like, "You want to be in it?" Or probably, "You want to be in my movie?" And she is like, "I'm sorry." And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So she does it. She delivers a fine performance for a non-actor who's just asked on a whim to be in the movie.
It seems about, on par with all the other people in the movie, so.
And apparently the dog was sitting there the entire time they were shooting, and the last take they got, he was like, "Oh, hey, doggy," and he pets it. And then after that take, he asks the shop owner, "Oh, is that real?" And she's like, "What do you mean is it real?" And he's like, "Is your dog real?" She's like, "Yes, it's a real dog. It's my dog." And I think he this is in the book. I can't remember exactly, but I think he mentioned maybe not having the dog in the shot, and she's like, "No, the dog stays on the counter. That's where he is. He's old, and that's where he likes to be. So that's where
this is his spot.
That's his spot.
He sits on the counter.
Yeah. So, hi, doggy.
I think you've mentioned before that the writing in the book is okay,
amateurish. Yeah.
But that the draw to it isn't that.
No,
the draw to it is that it's like
it's not the craft, it's the content.
Right. It's looking into this world that no one else really has ever exposed before.
Yeah.
That's become a sort of cult phenomenon.
Yeah.
This
Definitely.
movie is, I mean, this is one of those movies that people have tons of drinking games for, that is all over the internet, that people quote all the time. Oh, hi, Mark. Like, it's, and I think that you really started caring when you were able to, like, look into this life. And from what I've seen,
I had to have a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, and it's only made me love this movie more.
From what I've seen with you, though, I feel like you almost have developed some sympathy for him, that you feel kind of bad for him.
A little bit. Well, I mean, because if you think about if this movie is saying anything at all, and we do, like, on our show, we like to talk about subtext, we like to talk about themes, we like to talk about, the filmmakers and, like, maybe where they were when they made a piece of art, that all that stuff is really important. If you try to read that into the room, I think you only come away with something that's really quite pathetic from an artist's point of view. Tommy Wiseau may very well be a very strong misogynist.
Yeah.
May very well be very, very misled or, I guess, misunderstand women in general. Just
I think that, honestly,
he doesn't know how. Like, it's not that he misunderstands women because he thinks that he misunderstands women, but he probably has never really tried to. I think this movie is probably proof on some level that there was at least a woman at some point in his life that really hurt him.
Yeah.
And he didn't really heal the right way from it, or didn't know how to deal with it the right way.
I get the feeling, though, it's like the way he talks about women in this movie. When I watch other things that portray women in an evil light or unjust way or whatever, which this movie certainly does. I mean, Lisa's just evil. She's just illogical and evil. And usually when I watch other stuff, I get pissed off or irritated at the least. I don't really with this movie. I just sort of come away from it feeling like he really thinks that women are like an entirely different thing.
Right. And they're duplicitous.
They're absolutely something other than men. That they're like a different species, even exactly. A different animal.
And all of the men in this movie talk like Tommy Wiseau. They all talk like
right, because he puts the words into their mouth. He's exactly. The writer.
You've even got characters like Mark, who is supposed to be a totally different character from Johnny. And Mark says at one point, he says women are, sometimes they're too smart, sometimes they're dumb, and then other times they're downright evil and stuff like that.
And then Johnny calls him an expert on women. He says, "You sound like an expert on women." And I'm like, because he said some women are too smart, some are dumb, and some are just evil.
And the psychologist character Peter later on refers to Lisa as a sociopath, and all this kind of stuff.
And also just tells him, just don't bother with it. Life's complicated, and
right.
Like this is just how it. The psychologist is the one who also agrees with him and says that he doesn't understand women either.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have a fucking doctorate in something, right? You're a psychologist, and you don't understand women. Well, do you understand men? Because it's the fucking same thing.
If you have to say that you don't understand insert, sex or gender, then I guess you really don't. You totally missed the point.
You missed something in life, a very crucial thing.
Yeah. But then again, all the women kind of talk the same way, in that at least Lisa and her mother are always talking about how they were, given a raw deal, or someone is trying to take advantage of them, or, just speaking in really greedy terms in general. I think her mother
always about manipulating people, or
exactly, or how people are trying to take advantage of them. Mm-hmm. I think that's the main thing, especially with her mother. Her mother's always talking about how her brother is trying to manipulate her,
trying to take the house from her, and
her
stuff.
Ex-husbands are trying to manipulate her, and that marriage isn't about love, it's about financial security, and very cold blanket statements about stuff. And they're all put into the mouths of women in this movie. So it's
also, we've got leopard print again. We've got some nice leopard print on mom's undershirt here.
Was this in style in 2003?
Maybe in Poland.
Zing. That's pretty good.
Now let's talk thematically about the leopard print, what that could symbolize in, this movie that we're...
Oh, yeah?
There's also a lot of rose symbolism. We have a song about roses during a sex scene,
Yeah.
and then he buys
We
them.
did just miss the second sex scene that was made
No,
of...
it was the third sex scene.
Second sex scene with Johnny, and third sex scene overall, but that was recycled footage from the first sex scene with Johnny.
Oh my God, this is the breast cancer scene.
Yes, it is.
Where?
And this line right here, there are moments in this movie where I wonder if it really was an accident. But the line that Lisa says is, Johnny didn't get his promotion, and he got drunk last night, and he hit me. And then her mother says, Johnny doesn't drink. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is setup payoff. That is setup punchline. That is a joke.
Yeah.
There's no bones about it. That's a joke.
Okay, the fact is that the stuff in this movie, Tommy Wiseau repeatedly says that this was intentionally a comedy. Like, he's come out now after the fact, after it's become this cult.
Everyone who's worked on this disagrees, so
right,
we know what the truth is.
But he repeatedly says these people also just walk into this house to have sex.
Oh yes, Mike and Michelle.
Isn't this the guy who knows he's in a bad movie? Is that what you call him?
He does, and for that he has one of the better performances. I mean, it's still a bad performance, but it's one of the better performances because it's kind of a knowing performance.
Yeah, he gives like his little smirks and stuff are kind of like Sci-Fi Channel original,
over the top.
Yeah,
real
like
over the
really
top.
cheesing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his BJ face, getting a BJ face is just too much.
It's really great. Also, they eat so much fucking chocolate in this scene. Oh my God. And I can't imagine French kissing while you have a mouthful of chocolate. That's so disgusting.
A mouthful of anything.
Oh God, and like sharing the mouthful of whatever while you're kissing each other.
Like he's still chewing, and he's
and
just
then a whole nother piece of chocolate, and then there's gonna be a third piece of chocolate. And these are large pieces of filled chocolate.
Didn't you know that chocolate is a symbol of love?
Oh my God!
Did you know that?
Roses too.
Roses too,
and leopard print,
and also apples. The scene where at the beginning of the movie when Lisa and Johnny go upstairs and and Denny picks up an apple and takes a big bite of it. According to Tommy Wiseau, that is a sexual symbol.
Okay, whatever.
Symbolism.
Yeah.
In the room.
Yeah. Here's the BJ face.
Oh man.
Where he like blows out his cheeks and stuff. Oh God.
It's pretty amazing.
Anyways, we didn't mention the breast cancer thing. That's one of the greatest moments in the
just
movie.
Kind of totally blown off.
Where the mom is like, "Oh yeah, and I got the test results back. I am dying. I have breast cancer." And the daughter's just like not surprised at all, and she's just like, "Don't worry about it. They cure that all the time now. Don't worry about it."
They're curing people every day. No, they're actually not. That's
Actually, it's still breast cancer.
Yeah.
Actually, there's no cure for cancer.
My goodness.
Actually, this is really serious what your mom just told you.
What does Lisa do for a living?
I assume nothing. However, that she did have that really weird line when we had the pizza and sex scene.
This is the most sensible line. The character, Lisa's mom, Claudette, her character's name is Claudette. She says, how many people come in and out of this apartment every day, which is the most sensible line in the entire movie.
It is. It's the only moment where you're like, oh, this movie is aware of something that's happening in the movie.
And of the primary players, of the primary characters, I think that probably the woman who plays her mother does the best job with what she's given. I'm not saying that she's given anything to really work with, but I don't know, like I think she does the best job of anybody in the movie, except for maybe Chris R, who's not really in the movie all that much. But
which one is Chris R? Is
Chris
that
R
the drug
dealer
guy who tries to,
where most of his lines are, "Where's my fucking money, Denny?"
Yeah.
Where's the fucking money, Denny?
Yeah. Yeah, he looks real, drug dealer.
He does. Well, yeah, I think he actually, I think Greg Sestero says that consensus among the cast members is that Chris R's performance is the best in the movie. But
Yes, 10 seconds on screen.
I think my favorite performance is probably Claudette. I think she does the best with what she's given, which is, I mean, just 100% garbage.
No, I like the BJ guy. I think his faces are the best.
He's pretty good too. Only because he knows what he's in.
Yeah, he knows he's in a bad movie. But what I was saying though is in the pizza and sex scene right before, like when she gets him drunk. There's this really weird line where she says, "At least you have friends. I didn't get any calls today. You're right. The computer business is too competitive."
As though that has anything to do with friends.
Friends? Yeah, it's really weird. But
and then she ends that scene by saying she has to go see a client.
So I guess she's in the computer business?
Oh, this is the Chris R scene with them. Where's my fucking money, Denny? I wanted to talk to you about, like, we'll talk about it in a minute when it comes up, but what exactly is the drugs situation?
Yeah, I don't think there's really, I mean, what exactly is any situation in this movie? Like,
that's true. A lot of the movie,
like none of it,
not even just like scenes, but a lot of the dialogue itself is just a series of non sequiturs.
Yeah, well, like that line, like, at least you have friends. I didn't get any calls. You're right, the computer business is too competitive. It just, why, where did that come from?
In the last scene, Claudette says, "What does Denny do?" And Lisa answers with, "Johnny wanted to adopt Denny." What?
Huh? What? Like, in most of this movie, that's what you spend your time doing, is you sit there and go, huh? What? Why? Huh?
Actually, I think that basically that entire scene of Claudette and Lisa to be
my fucking money, Denny!
My fucking money!
And then suddenly everyone and their mom is there. Like, literally everyone.
The cutaway to the women at the door right here that's totally, the continuity's all messed up.
Right, because we're looking through the door
we're
and
looking through the door, no one's there, and then we cut to the reverse and they're standing right there. She's like, "What's going on? Oh my God." It's just so stupidly chaotic.
Oh my God, and there's so much screaming
ways.
in this scene.
She screams, "What's wrong with you?"
They just start screaming, and we just like, and this scene is so long, it just goes on forever, and they just keep yelling at him. Oh God, and I hate his face. I'm sorry, this kid he really makes me uncomfortable.
The thing is that he wasn't a kid when he made this. Like, he was an adult, and he hates how he's portrayed in this
right,
movie.
And that's why it's so upsetting, is because he's clearly not a child, but he
has man-child syndrome in
right,
this. Like,
and
you watch him, and it's uncomfortable.
So,
it's this weird, almost like, it's not the same thing, but feels kind of like Uncanny Valley, where an adult is playing a childish. And I guess as far as that's concerned, he does a good job.
Right, I guess so.
He plays really childish. He plays childish really, really well. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you?
Just screaming. Why are we screaming?
No, but I was saying that last scene, the scene that we came from with Lisa and Claudette in the apartment. The entire scene is a series of non sequiturs that starts with Mike and Michelle walking into someone else's apartment, having sex. Lisa and Claudette walk in. They leave. Denny walks in. She introduces him. Denny leaves. They talk about stuff that doesn't have anything to do with anything. Then Mike comes back in and gets his underwear and the chocolates and leaves. Scene over. Like, the scene is just nothing. It does nothing.
And so, yeah, I think in response to your question was, what is the drug thing? Like, what does the drug thing have to... I mean, it's nothing. Like, all of this is, why was there breast cancer? Why did we throw in breast cancer?
Well, it's yeah, exactly. But, like, the thing with the drugs, because they're talking about it now, Claudette clearly doesn't know what she's saying, because when Denny says he owes money, Claudette asks what he needs money for. So he owes money, and then she asks what he needs money for. It's like, no, he owes money. He doesn't need, he owes it. That's it. But then he goes on to say, she says that asks him if he's selling or giving the drugs to Chris R.
It's like,
Denny says
why would he owe him money if he's giving him drugs?
God, there's just too much to talk about. I can't. So when Denny says he bought some drugs off of Chris R., Claudette asks if he's selling them or giving them to Chris R., which doesn't make any sense. And then she finally accuses Denny of taking drugs. But I think, it appears to me that Denny was fronted some drugs to sell, and the movie doesn't make this clear at all, but I've just tried to figure this out.
Right, tried to bring logic where there is none.
Right. I think that Denny was fronted some drugs to sell at a markup in order to pay Chris R back and keep the additional amount for himself, but now he doesn't have the money or the drugs for some reason. Since he told Chris R that the money would arrive soon, like in 5 minutes or whatever, perhaps he fronted the fronted drugs to someone else who perhaps knew more about how to sell drugs than he would pay Denny, and Denny would then pay Chris R, or maybe the script is a convoluted piece of shit.
Well, I mean, the script supervisor was dead when he supervised it, so...
We are 38 minutes into the movie, and this is the first scene where Mark and Johnny talk, and they're best friends. Mm-hmm. We hear at least 4 or 5 times how they are best friends.
This is the thing, though. This is the thing that you've said before, that the more I've watched this movie recently, the more times I've watched this movie after you got so into it and you read the book and you've been talking about it, and every now and then you'd like come and you'd read me a paragraph and just be like, oh my God, can you believe this? and like every time I've watched this movie since then, the feeling that I get now is that you're right about...
Oh my God, we just missed another amazing line where he laughs at the story about the girl getting beat up.
Oh my God, this scene is the most misogynistic conversation that ever has been recorded in history.
Terrible.
Like basically, first Johnny laughs about a girl cheating on a guy with a dozen guys and then getting beaten up so bad she's put in the hospital. His response is to go, ha ha!
He talks about this in the book, and he says that the person who is kind of more or less directing the scene, because Tommy can't do more than one thing at a time, kept telling him, you can't laugh at the story. You can't laugh at the fucking story. And he kept laughing at the story. Every single time they're like, no, it's not a funny story. You can't laugh at it. Don't react that way. You have to react this way instead. You have to be sympathetic. You have to say, oh my God, or something, have to do something else. And he wouldn't do it. And then the 1 or 2 takes that they got of him not laughing, they were like, his delivery, whatever he said, was so fucking terrible that they had to go with a laughing take because it was literally just the best take they could get.
Oh my God.
The way Johnny enters that scene too with the water bottle was the culmination of like 6 or 7 hours of filming and over 30 takes of him.
The Oh Hi Mark one?
Yeah, walking through the door saying, it's bullshit, I didn't hit her, it's bullshit, she's lying, oh hi Mark, and like he throws the bottle and everything.
Yeah.
He just couldn't do it. He can't walk and talk at the same time. And when they were like, no, you have to hit your mark, he would go past his mark, or he wouldn't hit it, hit his mark at all, and he would be too far back when he would stop. And he couldn't say the line, he couldn't find the mark without like looking directly at it, and it was obvious like what he was doing. So like they gave him a water bottle and they were like, here, just focus on this, just hold the water bottle and maybe you can do it. It took them like 6 hours to shoot that. It's like 3 seconds.
I mean, it is one of the most famous pieces of bad movie,
I did not
in history. So it took 6 hours. But anyways, yeah, that scene was incredibly misogynistic. Like besides the laughing at the girl getting beaten up,
and also it didn't make sense. Why is Mark saying that he might have a girl?
Yeah, right.
Like what? Maybe have a girl is Tommy's wife. It's Johnny's wife.
He insinuates that he broke up with her because she wasn't good in bed, and then Johnny replies,
"That's a different girl."
Yeah, not Lisa, but some other girl. And Johnny replies that Lisa's good when he can get it. And then is the thing where he's like Mark is all like, sometimes they're too smart, sometimes they're dumb, sometimes they're just evil. And Johnny thinks he's an expert on women because he's got the 3 types down. Too smart, dumb, or evil. So
they say, don't worry about it, and I don't want to talk about it, and various other phrases, something like 8 or 9 times throughout this movie.
Yeah.
My God.
But anyways, what I was saying though is that
I said that because Denny just said it.
I think the whole best friend thing is what before we were interrupted by misogyny. The whole best friend thing was, I think for me, it is really part of this theory that you have, that is that he was just trying to make this fantasy world for himself.
Yeah.
Like this movie is a representation of of the world that he wants to live in, and then the world that it really is, this world where he wants to have a best friend, and he wants to have a loving fiance who's super hot, who they have sex all the time, who everyone wants, and everybody thinks she's so beautiful, and he wants to have a kid who's dependent on him.
The beauty of prison.
And he wants all these people surrounding him who think he's so great. But then the reality of it is that life is just going to shit on him anyways, and women are evil and manipulative, and his friends are going to betray him.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't know. I think it's really, really sad.
It is very sad. There's a scene coming up where they shoot in an alleyway, and the alleyway is so obviously a set. Like it's the worst looking set, even worse than the rooftop, which is also obviously a set on a green screen because the green screen looks terrible, despite the fact that Tommy Wiseau owned San Francisco Bay beachfront property that had a roof that had an amazing view of the bay, and they decided to shoot on a set in a parking lot with a green screen. The parking lot of the rental company that he did not rent the camera equipment from, but bought, which you don't do because technology is always improving so quickly that even the biggest Hollywood productions don't buy equipment. They rent equipment. They rent all of their cameras. They rent all their lights. They rent everything because you want the best and the latest always. Why would you buy anything?
Right. Except
Tommy Wiseau bought everything.
Because you probably wouldn't be able to use it the next time you went to make a movie.
No, he didn't want to make a Mickey Mouse production. That was one of his mantras. One of his many mantras while making this movie is like, this is not Mickey Mouse stuff. Yeah. So even though he had a rooftop, and I could just go on and on. Like he did this because he did this because he did this because he did this because it's just bad decision after bad decision after bad decision that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I say that to say that in the alley scene where they play football and Mike gets hurt, which never comes to anything at all, they were showing Tommy the dailies of that, that footage right there. And Greg Sestero talks about how he was watching Tommy's face as he's watching this footage, and there's this look on Tommy's face that Greg starts to interpret as he gets it. He's starting to understand how terrible this is and what a mistake this is. And he's starting to smile like he's about to just crack up at like how wrong-headed he's been, how terrible this whole thing is, and how they just need to shoot it in a real alleyway because it's going to look better than anything they could ever build. And the thing that comes out of his mouth is, look at me. I look so young and I have so many friends. Mm-hmm. That's what he says.
And that's why this is sad in the end. Why it's actually kind of a sad movie.
I don't want this episode to come out being like pity party for Tommy Wiseau, because a lot of people, and myself included, a lot of people love this movie because it's easy to make fun of. Because
it is. It is
terrible. Like, it's a train wreck.
And if you're playing one of the many drinking games and you're getting drunk while you're watching it, I mean, it's fantastic. Like, it's incredibly entertaining. It's such a quotable movie.
It's kind of a perfect bad movie. Yeah, it's perfect in that way. But when you like reading the book and understanding like where he's coming from and understanding that there might be some, like he might have, like I said, brain damage from car accidents, and he's an immigrant and he grew up in an Eastern European bloc country, and he had a terrible childhood, and he wants to leave all that behind because America means opportunity. America means freedom. Like, he is, in that way, he is naturalized. He's an American now. And he is the American dream. He came to America because he had a dream, and he made that dream come true, and now everyone makes fun of the dream that he made come through. And he's okay with that, but, I was listening to another podcast where there was a I guess, self-proclaimed room expert. And the podcast is How Did This Get Made, which is an amazing podcast, much better than ours. But he was talking about how he's been to so many screenings of this, and he's been to screenings where Wiseau was actually in attendance, and Wiseau plays along, and Wiseau is now, this is the alleyway scene that looks so terrible.
The fake alleyway.
Oh, so bad. But he said that Tommy Wiseau plays along, and now he's at the point where he says, oh yeah, it's a dark comedy. It was meant to be a comedy all along, which is totally not true. But every once in a while during the screenings, when everyone's laughing at his movie, he just kind of ducks out and leaves because he doesn't want to hear people laughing at his movie because he meant it. Like this is serious. This is him pouring his heart out. And I'm sorry, this is supposed to be a really fun podcast, and now it's really sad. You look like you're about to cry.
No, I'm not gonna cry. I'm actually thinking about how I thought this alleyway was inside somewhere before. The first time,
really?
Up until you just
thought
told
this was
me.
an
I thought this
interior
was an
location.
interior
No.
location. Yeah, I mean now I see the trash cans and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I thought they were like with that big window and stuff.
They do shoot the second, or not the second. There are a couple of football throwing scenes. The tuxedo football throwing scene that is also a complete non sequitur. They shoot that on location somewhere. It's like in some parking lot next to a building. It looks like.
God.
This alleyway was built, and they shot something in it, and then they moved to a different set. And typically, you do set scheduling for shooting something. So you build a set and you shoot everything that you're going to shoot for the movie on that set. You move away from it, and the set decorator, the set builder, tears it down, and you move on.
I'm sorry. I love this moment where where Mark pushes the blowjob guy and
Blowjob guy.
and he pushes him. I don't know why. I guess he just falls or something while he's standing still. Because catching a football is really hard. So, especially if you're 2 feet away from the person who's throwing it. So he falls when he catches it, and he pushes the blowjob guy into a trash can. And they're all like, "Oh, do you need a doctor? Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Look, we're gonna take him home now." And I'm just like, man, he just he just sat down hard, and we gotta take him home now. Gotta take him to the ER.
If you think about the point of that scene, you can't. I mean, it's just an exercise in building a brain aneurysm because there's no point. The scene is Mike recounts to Johnny the story of him losing his underwear, which we saw as an audience already.
Right. Thank you, Mike.
Then Mark and Denny walk in, and they all play football, and then Mark pushes Mike down accidentally, and they have to take him to the hospital, and that's the end of the scene, and nothing at all is accomplished whatsoever.
Oh my God.
But what I was saying about the set scheduling, when you shoot a movie, you have to of course schedule the shoot, and a lot of times what they do is they'll build a set, they'll shoot everything they need for the movie on that set, then they'll tear it down and move on to the next set. They had built the alley set and had moved on to, I guess, the rooftop set, and they were tearing down the alley set, and Tommy Wiseau got really upset because he's like, no, we're going to go back and we're going to shoot some more over there. But they had already torn it down. And the set decorator said, if you want me to build this set again, you're going to have to pay me double for basically doing my job twice, because that's not how this runs. And basically turned the Mickey Mouse thing around on him and says, this is not a Mickey Mouse production, right? This is, right? And Tommy was like, okay, I'll pay you double. Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Why? For that scene?
For that set. Yes, for that.
Oh my God.
That's it. And that's the only scene that takes place in that alley. So it was for that scene.
It's so pointless.
This also, the way he's setting up the recorder to the phone, this wouldn't work at all.
Yeah, I would suspect not. It's also the biggest, hidden recording device that I've ever seen.
He's also got a Maxell 60 or 120 minute cassette tape that he's recording on, and then the next time he pulls it out to replay messages is days later or something. So this 2-hour tape has been recording for days.
And when he pops it in, it's synced up to the exact right conversation
exactly.
they just had. And also
with
replays stuff that was
not in the conversation,
Yeah.
even though we saw the conversation taking place in it's basically one unedited take. I think there's maybe one cut in there, one cutaway, but that's at the end of the movie.
What was there was another time thing. Oh yeah, the other time thing that really annoyed me at the very beginning is when Lisa first calls Mark and she's talking to him on the phone, and she's like, she tells him...
Is it the one where he's in the car and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm very busy right now?
Yeah. Everyone always starts conversations by saying, oh, hi, and then saying, I'm very busy.
right now.
And they often end conversations by getting pushed and falling down and leaving.
It happens at least twice, in both times in scenes that don't matter.
But anyways, though, when he's in the car talking to her, and she's all like, you have to talk to me because you owe me. And she also says that a lot, that people owe her and they have to have sex with her or talk to her because I don't know what they owe her. I think the only thing she does is just stay in the house and change her earrings.
I guess in some ways when Wiseau writes the line for Peter that Lisa is a sociopath, in some ways he kind of wrote an accurate sociopath.
It's true. Hold on, and we'll come back to the sociopath thing in a second. But
did you know that love is blind?
It is. But so when she's on the phone with Mark, she's like, can I see you tomorrow? And he goes, all right, how about noon? And she goes, K. And then we see a trolley, and then the next cut is him walking up to the door. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, wait, so this is tomorrow?
Is it? Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
Why is it not just today?
Is that before the stair sex?
Yes, it's right. It's right before they have their first sex scene together.
I'm not gonna say that The Room did it better, but I will say that they did stair sex before A History of Violence. So there's that. I am gonna say that David Cronenberg ripped off stair sex.
Well, that's
from
true.
The Room.
That's definitely true.
That's definitely what it is.
Definitely. Yeah, because in the scene she's got different clothes on.
This is also very much a Cronenbergian exercise in body horror with I'm sorry. I'm not gonna get that mean.
But she has in that scene she has different clothes on. They're also black, but they're different from the clothes she had on when she was on the phone.
See, they look the same to me.
They're different clothes.
Okay.
They're different clothes, but it's just the same color clothes, so like they look really similar. But no, I think it's really supposed to be that unless she changed clothes as she walked across the room to open the door.
I like how earlier in the scene, Tommy, I keep calling him Tommy because his character's name is Johnny. I like how Johnny says to Peter, but you're a psychologist. And then Peter says something else later in the scene that just passed. And Johnny says, Peter, you're always playing psychologist with us.
Yeah. Like in the beginning, he's like, asking him questions as a psychologist, like, what do you think, about what's going on in my life? Because you're a psychologist, you can tell me. And then he gets
like,
pissed
people
later.
are people, and I don't understand women either.
Yeah, he goes, I don't understand women. Do you, Peter? And the psychologist responds with, what man does?
Good job.
Good job. Paid a lot of money for that doctorate. Good job. I love the brown sheets all over all the
cheap.
Almost as good as How You Call a Dog if you're Johnny Depp.
Oh, Chow Chow Chow. Which
or
actually,
a cat. Call a cat.
Call a
chow,
cat.
chow, chow.
We were called out on that. Apparently, the Chow 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 comes from the Purina pet chow, the cat chow and dog chow commercials from the 1980s.
Ah, okay. Well, then not being. Well, I was born in 87.
I was born in 86, so...
So to me, it just sounds like Johnny Depp doesn't know how to call a cat. Chow, chow, chow.
Exactly. Without the point of reference, you're like, what?
But yeah, this is, I would be really surprised if there's some good reason for why he thinks a chicken goes chip, chip, chip. So...
This stuff right here is fascinating because it's basically autobiographical. It kind of starts when he talks about the Beta Breakers thing. Beta Breakers is a marathon, like kind of a crazy off the wall marathon where people go and run in the nude and like wear silly costumes and all kinds of stuff. And them talking about the chicken, the barbecued chicken and the beans and all that stuff. That was from an experience that Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau had together when they were living together in Los Angeles. And I guess they were living together in Los Angeles or San Francisco. It's in the book. And then that whole story that Johnny just told about him coming to San Francisco with 2 suitcases and a $2,000 check that he couldn't cash because it was out of state. All that stuff was just
real.
Tommy Wiseau's experience moving to California from Louisiana.
Just his real life.
Yep.
Yeah, so that scene was the one where it's the one coming up where the psychologist Peter is his opinion about Mark and Lisa's situation is that life is complicated, which is his very vague answer, and then Lisa is a sociopath.
This next bit right here might be the weirdest bit of blocking ever.
Why?
Let's just sit by the open door and talk.
Just sit down on the floor by the open door.
Mark and Peter leave, and they're just like, all right, the door's wide open, and they just sit on the floor and talk. And then they're about to stand up, and that's it. That's the scene. So many strange choices.
Why? Like, that would be so awkward to have my front door open and just, like, be kneeling with my back to it. And then he just stands up.
Yep.
He just stands up.
That's
just chose to sit on the floor for a second.
They sat, started some dialogue, stood up, continuing the dialogue. Denny leaves. Didn't he just walk in?
Yeah, I think so.
He just came in. Okay.
Yeah,
and this is the rooftop scene where...
Oh, yeah, and he's going to be smoking some marijuana, getting really high, try and kill his friend, try and push him off the roof.
This shot right here of Mark has his little weed box and lighter.
That is a huge weed
top.
box.
It is a huge weed box. Like, not to mention why he isn't just smoking in his apartment, because they've already established that he lives in the same building as Johnny.
You know, he wants the view.
But the two shot that it cuts away from, there's a continuity error where the lighter's in front of the box instead of beside it. But this shot right here has so much fucking headroom on him that it's obvious that Tommy Wiseau wanted to see the weed box.
Right.
He had to see the weed box in the shot.
Oh, but then there we go, the lighter again.
Error. Yeah. I think this scene does kind of prove that Peter might be the worst psychologist ever. Maybe. Also, he really hates marijuana, I guess, which makes me think that
Tommy has a problem with drugs.
That Tommy Wiseau has a problem with drugs.
Because it's the second time we've had a really negative drug reference.
He also doesn't drink, and that's
right.
That's a thing that he doesn't drink until his birthday party when he's drinking champagne, like no problem.
But before it's all like she's, convincing him to be evil, that she is taking away his innocence by forcing him to drink and have sex with her. Why does she want to have sex with him so much if she hates him? That's one of the things that drives me so crazy in this movie, is how she constantly is, when she's away from Tommy, she's constantly saying how much she's not going to marry him and he's a fool and she's bored with him. He's boring and et cetera, et cetera. And then when she's with him, she leads him on so hard, like to the point where you believe it. You're like,
why wouldn't she? And not even that, but she also, when he's not even around, or when she doesn't think he's around, there's a scene where she's talking to her mother, and she is telling her about
Denny, how caring
Tommy is, how he cares about all the people in his life.
I told you before, he cares about the people he loves so much, and
she's
he
like
takes care of them.
super sincere about it. And then her mom is like, then why don't you love him? And she's like, I don't know, I just don't. I don't want to talk about it. She just turns on a dime. It's crazy.
Like, it's very true that this all comes down to how Tommy thinks that women are just these like illogical creatures that really don't, because she even says stuff that is out of his mouth, not really out of her mouth, but the words he puts into her mouth are, women change their mind, don't you know? We change our minds all the time. We just change our minds. And it's like, man, dude.
Establishing shot of a church back in the apartment.
It's
just random. Nothing makes sense. Also in Tux's, they talk about how they're going to do wedding photos. We mentioned this earlier, but their wedding is not actually happening. This is just an excuse to go play football in Tux's. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
But what you were saying about women, I do think that Tommy Wiseau is actually, of course, he's writing women through his through the filter of his mind.
Well, and everybody's going to do that. Everybody who writes anything is going to write it through the filter of their own experiences, and the goal of a writer is to try and step outside yourself sometimes to be able to create characters who are not yourself.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he's not capable enough to do that, so all of the characters are just him.
Right. So to Tommy Wiseau, all women are illogical creatures that make decisions randomly and are fickle, and they always change their minds about things.
Oh my God, they all did the chicken noise.
That's not that's not the last
cheep.
time it comes up. But yeah, they're all duplicitous and manipulative and greedy and all of these terrible things and too smart, but also dumb and evil. And like, these are the words that he puts in characters' mouths. And it's obvious that it's just this illogical creature thing comes from Tommy Wiseau thinking that women are truly illogical creatures. Like, they don't make sense. It's like sitting a child down and making them watch Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain and then making them write a book report on it, or not a book report, but, like write a paper on it. It's like, tell me what this movie was about. And they're going to write some crazy fucking nonsense. There's no way they can understand what it is. And that's kind of what it is. It seems to be like for Tommy Wiseau.
That there's just no way that he can understand women.
He can't interpret it. He can't write female characters because he's decided that they are this thing.
Yeah.
That they aren't, He can't see that they're just people.
I love how in this cafe scene here, we go through like 2 different sets of extras ordering their full order and having the people, like the staff, like take the order and talk to them. And like still, okay, finally we have one of our movie members in the shot. Finally, we've been here for like 20 seconds before someone who's actually in this movie comes into the shot. Like, it's so weird. Just so many wasted moments.
This location right here had actually been owned by Tommy Wiseau for some time as a retail outlet. He owns a company. He may still own it, called Street Fashions USA. And he owned this huge building. He owned the entire building that even had roof access. This is, prime real estate in the San Francisco Bay Area. Has an amazing view of the bay and the Golden Gate Bridge and all that kind of stuff. And this was all second unit stuff. This actually was shot after they thought they were done with the movie, and then he called everybody back because he wanted to shoot some more stuff. And he took Greg Sestero up here, and he was like, okay, we're going to shoot here. And it was just this giant building, just this amazing giant building. All of this is owned by Tommy Wiseau. This was all retail space where he was selling clothes, it is understood, it is known that Tommy Wiseau is kind of independently wealthy. Mm-hmm. He has what some have referred to as a bottomless bank account. He just has money, and he can buy whatever he wants or needs.
Where does it come from?
I don't know. Some people think that.
If he was someone who, like, as a child, like, escaped a bad situation and moved around the world trying to find a place to live, then we can assume he did not come from any money.
Yeah. The book doesn't imply that he really gets his money from this Chloe Litsky person. It really actually implies that he did something much more on the straight and narrow, that he started out as a peddler on the boardwalk. And he sold yo-yos and toy birds from France. And then from there, he made enough money to buy a little bit of retail space. And then he started selling cheaply made import clothes. And then from there, he bought a bigger space, and he just kept moving up.
And suddenly
and up
he's
and up.
just
and then
incredibly
he's just
wealthy.
Suddenly a millionaire, and that's it.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So this is this is Mark and Lisa's sex scene, where Mark was so uncomfortable with this that he refused to take off his jeans. So all of the humping and stuff is done like under the covers. Like, there's no ass from Greg Sestero like there is from Tommy Wiseau. But yeah, he doesn't take off his jeans at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't take off my clothes for this movie. I'd take off my clothes for maybe some other kind of movie, but not for this movie. Oh my God.
Priorities.
Oh God.
So, but yeah, like here's we missed it, but there was a blatant continuity error. I don't know why I'm even pointing this out. Like, it gets to the point where you point out continuity errors and stuff like that, and you're just like, why? What? Like
the whole movie is a continuity error.
There are much bigger problems than whether or not when she pulls down her top, it's actually up in the next shot, and they have to pull it down again or whatever. So I don't know, like, things that I want to comment on, it's like, why am I even commenting on this? Right. This entire movie is just like, it's junk, the whole thing. So,
So instead, let's talk about the psychologist, Peter. Let's talk about how he called Lisa a sociopath.
Oh yes, we mentioned that before.
Yeah,
so.
he called Lisa a sociopath, and I went on the internet, and there just so happens to be a How to Spot a Sociopath WikiHow page.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was a BuzzFeed list.
No. It's a WikiHow. We've got pictures to help you spot the sociopath. It's actually way longer than I want to read. There are like 13 steps, but we can go through some of them and decide whether or not we think Lisa is a sociopath. Man, that is some intense humping.
Dry humping with the jeans. Remember, he's got jeans on under there.
And that hurts for her if he's scratching up on her with his jeans.
That zipper. Zipper's like a little chainsaw.
Step 1, look for lack of shame. Does she have shame? I don't think so. I don't think she feels guilt for cheating on
I'm more
on
familiar
Tommy.
with her breasts than I am yours. Thanks to this movie. So I wouldn't call that shame, no.
No, not the actress.
I know.
Step 2.
I got jokes.
See if the person is constantly lying. Lisa is constantly lying.
Or
It's
at least
true.
she withholds the truth constantly, sure.
And step 3, see if they're able to stay eerily calm in spite of circumstances. I don't think that's true because when Tommy's dead, she freaks out.
She does.
She freaks out. Step 4.
But she also sees it as she is an opportunist in that she uses it to force Mark to confirm or deny whether or not
that's
they're
true.
gonna
Yeah,
have a
she totally
relationship.
changes the
she
topic.
Parlays it. She's like, he's dead. Does that mean we can be together? And he's like, no.
Step 4, see if they are extremely charming at first. Is she extremely charming?
She's got some charisma, sure, a little bit.
Okay. Step 5, see if the person is exceptionally intelligent.
I don't know. The computer business is very competitive.
It is pretty competitive.
Can't blame her for
Step
that.
6, see if the person is manipulative. I mean, everybody calls her manipulative.
Yeah, I would say she is, sure.
Yeah. 7 is look for signs of violent behavior. Like killing small animals and stuff like that.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. She does slap Mark later.
That's true. Step 8, see if the person has a huge ego.
In this scene coming up, when Michelle comes in and they start talking, she does say that she wants everything, that her eyes are wide open. And,
That's true.
you know.
I wasn't going to go through the whole list, but we're almost there. 9 is see if the person makes uninterrupted eye contact. Does she stare at people weirdly?
Yep.
She's staring. Step 10, face readings. I don't know, WikiHow. What the fuck does that mean? Read her face. Does she look like a sociopath? Sure, whatever. 11, see if the person has few real friends. Well, she says nobody calls her.
That's true. At least you have friends.
At least you have friends.
No one calls me.
12 is see if the person likes to isolate you. Does she try to isolate Tommy? Does she try to... I don't think so.
Does she? I don't know. She kind of does that to Mark.
Yeah, that's true. She does it to Mark. She tries to get him away from Tommy.
She's always asking him to come over and stuff like that.
And then last one is see if the person is immature.
I don't know, kind of. I guess.
I guess. Whatever. Sure.
No, I think
Lisa's a sociopath.
Sure. I think that if you can say that Tommy Wiseau was successful in anything, he successfully wrote a sociopathic character.
Okay.
In Lisa.
Okay. That's good.
It's because he's a misogynist, but at least he was
not so good.
successful in his goal.
Right.
I think.
Well, and that, that he didn't blindly make that comment, right? He had a character who's a psychologist, call her a sociopath, and I guess she does kind of fit the description.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So A+ for effort and doing it.
Yeah, they're really quite flippant about their affair.
Yeah.
And
everyone else is too, except for Peter the psychologist.
Yeah, no one really takes it seriously at all, I don't think. It doesn't seem
this girl is just laughing. She's just like, what was the zipper thing? Have you told Tommy yet? Have you told Johnny yet? Have you told? I mean, it's the same thing, right? Tommy.
Yeah,
Johnny.
she just said the line. They want it to be like a really big deal, but all of the characters that find out about it, with the exception of maybe her mother, they're all just like, oh my goodness.
And Peter the psychologist, he gets pissed.
He gets pretty pissed about it. But later at the party, once it kind of comes out, they act like it's no big deal. It's like, it's out now. It's done. We're dancing together and everybody's watching. Who even cares?
Yeah, it is really weird at the party. Like, and they talk about it really loudly in this teeny tiny room in front of everybody. Where when she comes out and she does the really random thing and says that she is pregnant, that she's expecting.
Yeah.
And she does the really random thing where she does that, and he later comes back into the house and he starts accusing her, and he's like, whose baby is it? Is it my baby? And you're just like, oh my
cool
gosh,
dude.
Like,
We got company.
But the thing is he's not even saying it like he's angry and he can't keep his voice down. He's really casual about it, but just talking loudly. Whose baby is it? Is it my baby? Like, man, everybody's in here right now.
There is kind of like a spatial awareness that everything is lacking. Later in the movie, there's another thing where Johnny's in the bathroom and Lisa's on the phone, and where she calls Mark. She's trying to get Johnny out of the bathroom, and then she calls Mark on the phone and just has a conversation about how she wants to go bang him while Johnny's in the bathroom. And then there's like even a moment when, like, at the end of the conversation, she like leans away from the phone a little bit and goes, "I'm on my way," like she wants Johnny to hear. But then he comes out of the bathroom and has to prove the conversation just happened by getting his 2-hour
and you're just like,
cassette tape
dude,
that's been running for a week.
heard all of it while you were sitting there. So like, why? He's even got his ear up against the door.
Exactly. Well, and then that leads me to another point about there was another scene, the scene where Lisa admits to her mother that she's been having an affair with Mark, and the scene ends and Tommy has been listening in. So he's just found out that his wife is having an affair, or not his wife, but his, as they say, future wife, which I also want to talk about, that his future wife is having an affair with his best friend. And he's like, how can they talk about me like that? I'll show them. I'll record everything. It's like, record what, man? You've got all the information. You just heard.
Like you don't, if it's real, you don't have to prove it to them. You just tell them you fucking know.
Yeah, and the thing that he says is that I think he actually phrases it, how can they say that about me? As though Tommy Wiseau wrote the scene where his character discovers the thing about his future wife's character and the affair she's having, and then he totally missed the point of the revelation. And he's like, they're talking about me, so I'll record their conversation. It's like, no, dude, you just found out your wife is fucking your best friend. I don't know. Okay, about the future wife thing.
Yeah. What?
They never say the word fiance in this movie.
Really?
No one says fiance ever in this movie. They all say future wife or future husband.
What? Why?
I think, now this is my theory, I think it's because Tommy Wiseau wants to, I guess, distance himself from his past in France. So knowing the word fiance is and this might be a stretch, but I think that it makes more sense than, anything else. And I really haven't heard any other theory, but it is something people talk about. Like, why do they say future husband and future wife so much? It's a weird thing.
Yeah. But
I do think it is that Tommy Wiseau speaks, as I understand, basically native level French. And he doesn't want people to know that he speaks French or Polish, if he is in fact from Poland. He doesn't want anyone to know that he speaks any other language than English. He wants everyone to believe that he is a, blue-blooded American. That's really what he wants. Like, when people ask him about his origins, he doesn't talk about it. When people ask him how many languages he speaks, he avoids the topic. Like, this has happened for years in every single interview that he's in, that anyone's asked him about his past or his multilingualism, because he speaks more than one language.
Yeah.
He speaks at least 3 languages.
Right, because he has to speak something, and it's definitely not English as a first language.
And I think, as someone who studies foreign languages myself, I think that that's damn impressive that he speaks at least 3 languages.
Right, it absolutely is.
And his English is
It's also damn impressive that he's a millionaire after having come from nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, you can make fun of him for this, but, like, there's something to this guy. Like,
yeah.
He's a millionaire. He speaks 3 languages. There's something going on the right way upstairs that I think people like to discount because, he made a dumb movie. Yeah, he made a bad movie. But, hats off to the dude. He speaks 3 fucking languages. I can't stress that enough. But not only that, like, for me, I speak Japanese and English. And I used to speak Spanish before I, lost it by living in Japan for almost 5 years. But any opportunity that I have to like speak Japanese or to talk about my experience learning a different language, I will talk about because it's important to me and I'm proud of it.
Yeah,
like
of course.
I've worked hard for it.
Right.
Like when you work toward an accomplishment and you accomplish it to some degree of success, you want to talk about it. Because
Right, of course.
Yeah, it's something to be proud of, and I am proud of it. He doesn't want anyone to know that he speaks any other language than English, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really incredible to me. I don't understand how you can like. He's obviously got some kind of ego. This is the biggest fucking vanity project ever. But but
it's not, though, because you said yourself, even like he's not in the movie that much. It is a vanity project,
it is,
but it isn't.
Yeah, it's really strange.
It is sort of like autobiographical, but it isn't. Like
he's able to compartmentalize, I guess, and I guess that's the best word to use. He's able to compartmentalize these parts of his ego and put some, like try to literally just hide some away so that people will never know, and then put others forward so that he can present himself as what he wants to be, as the new him, you know, the new flesh, to bring Cronenberg back into the conversation. I don't know. That's kind of fascinating to me. But we are at the birthday party.
I love how many
that builds to
shots
kind of a fever pitch.
Begin with people just laughing happily. If nothing else is telling about his real inner goals for this movie, that it is to make him look like he has friends and he has a family and etc. If nothing else is telling, I think the fact that so many moments start with people just laughing happily, patting each other on the back, showing how they're such great buddies and how much fun they're having being together and being around him. Oh gosh. It's so awkward.
That's a good way to describe this entire movie, is just awkward.
It's just awkward.
Which is why, you know, Tommy Wiseau working with Tim and Eric is
Blowjob Face is doing a good job making faces again.
It's kind of a match made in heaven, I think. Like Tommy Wiseau and Tim and Eric. I think they should probably work together again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It is kind of a match made in heaven.
Because he's one of those people that is incredibly strange and does incredibly awkward artistic things that everybody else knows are really bad, but they don't know it's really bad. And that's exactly the kind of person that Tim and Eric love to put on the screen. People who take themselves seriously and believe that they do really good work when actually what they're doing is really awkward, strange, bad stuff. It is a match made in heaven.
When Tommy walked in and everyone shouted surprise and started singing Happy Birthday, the rendition of it, like the what's it called? The dissonance is so true to life that it kind of approaches cinema verite, which is like the cinema of the truthful, or like the most true to life cinema.
Right. This is like really what it sounds like when a group of random fuckers sings
like
Happy Birthday.
Like, oh my God,
it's
this
like,
is
God,
realism.
this sounds like shit.
This is amazing.
So right here they're making out on the couch. Who the fuck is this guy? Who is this?
He's Peter number 2. Like he has a character's name. I think his character's name is Matthew or something like that.
Everybody
I'm
has like
sure.
the most fantastic names: Mark, Johnny, Lisa, Peter,
Michelle,
Matthew, Denny. They distinctly call him Dinny a couple times, and Danny.
I didn't mention this yet. Do you know why Mark's name is Mark?
Why?
Because because Tommy Wiseau is a really, really big fan of Mark Damon.
Oh my God, no.
Yes.
That's not real.
Yes.
Oh
he
my God.
misunderstood here. He misremembered Matt Damon's name and named a character in his movie after Matt Damon, but named him Mark.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, so who is this guy who's not...
this guy, the guy that comes in and has suddenly a whole bunch of lines, was supposed to be Peter, but Peter had a previous commitment and he thought that this movie wasn't going to take as long as it ended up taking. And to be fair, the movie took 6 fucking months to make, this movie. So after they finish the scene, I think it's kind of appropriate too, because this shot right here is like out of a Gus Van Sant movie or something, like them following her into the party.
It looks good.
It does. It's like, where did this come from?
And like everything's out of focus and in the distance and stuff, and yeah, it looks good.
I want to make a note of the announcement that they are expecting a child And how long does it take? Okay, we're at an hour 21:35-ish. Let's say an hour 21 and 30 seconds. And let's see how long it takes for them to dismiss that plot point. But yeah, basically when Peter finishes his last scene, the football tuxedo scene, he says, "I'm done," and that's his last scene. It's almost as if he's like, "I'm done with this fucking."
Yeah, and he just
movie.
leaves the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just over. Oh wait, baby.
When is the baby due? There is no baby. 30 seconds.
Yeah. So we
right?
introduce a whole new dramatic element into the movie
And dismiss it
then,
literally 30 seconds later.
Well, I mean, at least it gets a dismissal. We never got a dismissal for the drugs or the breast cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
That just was
It's just
there
shit
and then
that
just
happens.
gone. So, oh my God, I'm going to scream at you for like 5 straight minutes in this movie, and then we're never going to mention it ever again.
So
we're never going to
Denny
figure out why it happened.
may or may not be addicted to drugs. Like
Still.
that's part of a character arc. Like he was doing things. Like Tommy Wiseau's script. The script for this movie does stuff that it doesn't actually understand what it's doing. Like when you give a character a drug problem, you're establishing an arc, and that arc either culminates in the drug problem
being resolved
in some way, either becoming it's either a tragic event or an event of redemption. Like that's what it is. It's tragedy or redemption. There's really no other way to go other than like neutral. But he establishes an arc and then does nothing with it. The breast cancer thing. Not only that, but of course the breast cancer thing is the easiest to point to because it's the biggest, like fucking breast cancer. But she's constantly talking about these other men in her lives, like her ex-husband that wants this and her brother that wants that, and they're always trying to steal money from her, or they're trying to get her house from her and all this kind of stuff. And this other thing about her friend, like at one point she mentions her friend and says that she's
trying to get a house.
She's trying to get her house, and she thought
her friend is trying to get a house,
right?
And she thought that Johnny
would pay the down payment or help her with the down payment.
For like a friend of his fiance's mom.
Yeah, exactly. And she was like, I thought Tommy. I keep saying Tommy. I'm sorry, Mr. Wiseau. She thought that Johnny would be more generous than that. And all he would say is that it's an awkward situation. It's like, damn right, it's an awkward situation. You don't just help someone pay off, pay like a down payment.
Like someone you don't even know?
Yeah.
Ostensibly that he doesn't even know this person?
I don't know. I think that in the most basic sense, Tommy Wiseau understands drama and I'm not saying that he understands drama because he doesn't, but in the most basic sense, he understands that characters need conflict and they need arcs and they need goals and they need obstacles and things that they have to deal with. So he's like, oh, breast cancer, drug problem, this thing right here. There's greed,
expecting a baby,
greed and corruption and blah blah blah, and having
cheating on spouse,
trying to find a job, and this job market is competitive, and this and that and whatever.
Didn't get the promotion,
and nothing gets resolved. Do you think one?
Oh look, here's the dancing scene.
I think the only character arc that gets resolved is, I guess, in some way.
Well, Tommy, damn it, Johnny dies.
Johnny dies, so that's resolution to some degree. I guess Mark and Lisa's character arcs get resolved in some way, in that there's a final decision made with Mark that, like, no, you're the reason that Johnny killed himself, so I'm not going to have anything to do with you. We're done. And, I guess that resolves it.
I love him coming up and finding them like necking, like literally like
dancing
they're kissing each other's
party.
necks and stuff while they're dancing. And then he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she's like, "None of your business." Like so many times she responds to like people blatantly talking to her about whatever is going on, and she's just like, "Don't worry about it. None of your business. I don't want to talk about it." God.
The last scene.
Oh, wait. We're about to get the chicken moment.
Oh, yes.
The final chicken.
Where both times before it was used a comedic effect. But now it's dramatic.
A tip.
Well, just like, and he's like doing the little flapping wings.
I love when in the scene before with the chicken, like the second to last one, where like all of them are doing the chicken together, and it's really obvious that the other actors are super uncomfortable about, doing the chicken movement.
I don't understand. We just had an establishing shot of the Disney store, And
That's the second time we've seen it. A little while back, he was walking across the street and the Disney store was there.
Yeah, and there we just had another establishing shot.
Why? We're still in the apartment.
Yeah, it's just a bookmark, I don't know, a break, something to put between two scenes. I don't know. I'm not sure. We haven't moved locations. I think it's supposed to be so we don't actually do a jump cut and jump to later without establishing that some time has passed.
If we're talking about arcs in the character, right? Like the dramatic change of what's going on with the characters.
Yeah, dynamic characters,
right?
and transformative experiences.
Lisa in the beginning, her hair and her makeup is very colorful and she like keeps it up and straight and pretty.
God, I can't believe you're saying this.
Then now, if we look at Lisa, like her hair is crimped and she's got like this black spiky necklace on and very dark eye makeup.
In a few minutes, bitch. That line right there.
In a few minutes, bitch.
He kept saying that line, and I guess it was at the end of a long day, but the crew and the cast and everybody watching just could not stop laughing when he said the line, and he kept coming out of the bathroom really upset, not understanding why people were laughing at his line. This is the scene I was talking about earlier where Johnny has locked himself in the bathroom.
I'm sorry. What's that on her dresser? I'm just noticing it. It looks like
I think
small
it's a
mannequin.
small mannequin, yeah. It's a small mannequin doll. I don't know, something that Tommy Wiseau used to sell on the boardwalk, I guess. But I was talking about the scene before. He's locked himself in the bathroom, and she's on the phone with Mark, just talking at normal, like, conversation level. Toward the end of the conversation, she leans away from the phone a little bit, and I think she's trying to get Johnny to hear it. There she goes. I'm on my way.
Like turns to the door.
But we basically heard that entire conversation without a cut. There may have been a cut to Johnny inside the bathroom, like leaning up against the door.
Yeah, there was one.
But I say that to say that when he goes to get the cassette tape and he's about to replay it, there's bits of the conversation that didn't happen. The conversation just happened, and she starts talking about like how Mark is a sparkle in her life or something. You're the sparkle of my life. I can't live without you. It's like she didn't just say that. I just heard that conversation.
Just repeats the same lines.
We'll see about that. Goes get the tapes, comes back. We'll see about that. Oh my God. This is too much.
It's just too much. It's been really an amazing exercise trying to watch this seriously.
It is so, and I don't mean this in the positive way, this is such a dense movie. It is so dense. Every scene has something you can talk about. Every single scene, many moments, almost every moment has something you could say, look at this crazy shit. Look at what a mess this is. Look at what a hot mess this moment is. Look at this continuity error. Look at this thing that's just wrong in every conceivable way. Look at how this means the worst about these characters. Look at how this means the opposite of what is clearly trying to be established, in the story about these characters or these moments or these decisions or these events or whatever. It's just so backwards. It really truly is the most spectacular failure of a movie that maybe has ever been.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, but that's why it's so famous. So this movie was made in 2000. Oh my God, he just threw that tape recorder.
The slow-mo tape recorder that doesn't even break. It just kind of bounces off the wall.
Kind of like when he gets angry later and he starts throwing stuff around the house, but like stuff doesn't fall down.
Oh, there's a whole thing. Like behind the scenes, the guy who was kind of walking him through the scene was like, come on, man, you got to do better than that. Like he just was really lethargic and like, not really knocking
like
stuff over.
Kind of knocking some stuff off the tabletop.
Yeah.
Sort of pushing the dresser a little.
Like a sleepy toddler that doesn't want to go to bed. I don't want to.
But I mean, this movie being so dense is why this movie makes such...
For discussion. It's not thematically... I'm not saying it's thematically dense. But like, of things that you can talk about, I have so many notes that I haven't even gone over because I was talking about something else. Like, there's just too much.
Well, what I was going to say is that it's the reason why this movie makes for such a fantastic drinking game. Do you have anything about the drinking games? Like some of the things that you should do?
I don't, but
okay.
I'm sure it'll send somebody to the hospital.
Here, yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, because there's so many repetitive elements in this movie. It's kind of perfect for that.
Okay, so like some of the things that you can do, whenever a character says, oh, hi, character name.
Nine.
Drink.
That happens 9 times in the movie.
Whenever Lisa and Claudette are about to have a heart-to-heart, take a sip. Take a sip whenever Johnny laughs, and another whenever he says, huh?
What does his laugh sound like?
Be sure to take a gulp when Lisa explicitly states that she doesn't love Johnny anymore.
Okay.
When a blatantly unnecessary scene draws to a close, drink. Well, that's every
most scene. Yeah, most scenes.
When a sex scene draws to a close, down your drink.
Okay.
Drink when a character shows up with no introduction.
Okay. It's like every scene. A couple times in just about every scene.
Drink when Mark says, "What's going on?" while Lisa is about to seduce him.
You know, people, let's go back to that point about people walking into scenes. This was actually written as a play first and then adapted to a novel and then finally written as a screenplay. And it still kind of feels like a play. Like the way people enter and exit scenes and stuff like that and how it's shown.
Like the worst kind of play. But
yes.
Yeah. Drink when the characters are playing football.
Oh my God, that's at least 4 times.
I guess this is to be healthy, but oh my God, he's humping the dress. I hate this moment.
Yes. According to the screenplay, Johnny pleasures himself with the red dress.
Oh my God, it's so awful. He's like groaning and thrusting into it. Drink water after being shown parts of San Francisco. So we're trying to,
that's good.
Keep yourself
mitigate the alcohol poisoning.
Take a sip whenever Denny says something slightly creepy.
How many scenes is Denny in?
Oh my gosh.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was just.
There's so much more.
There are tons of them out there. It was the first one I looked at.
What about oh hey? They say oh hey 7 times. They
say characters have catchphrases and you should drink at all the catchphrases.
Well, multiple characters say don't worry about it.
Don't worry
multiple
about it.
Characters say I don't want to talk about it. Things like that. What about there should be another one for every time Johnny tries to deliver some kind of like platitude. Like about life, like
about love,
like then it don't
life.
Plan so much. Sometimes it don't turn out right.
I think. Well, this was just one of the, I'm sure, hundreds of different versions of the drinking game that there are on the internet. But yeah, like there's so much in this movie that happens like that it makes for a great bad movie watching time.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen this at a screening, and it's one of my I live in Japan, like we've talked about on the podcast before, and they don't have screenings of The Fucking Room in Japan, but it is one of my goals in life. I have to go to a screening of The Room with like a crowd where they do all the things, like they do all the midnight screening stuff. Like every time you see a shot of the framed spoons, like there are spoons, like these frames to decorate the set with that just came with like stock photos of spoons. They just didn't take those pictures out and just left them. So every time you see spoons, you're supposed to throw plastic spoons at the screen.
That's beautiful.
Every time people play football on screen, people run out into the aisles and like actually play football and stuff like that. And
that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, people anticipate lines and all sorts of stuff. There are moments where Tommy Wiseau is looking down like at his mark on the ground, and every time he looks down at his mark, people will like run to that corner of the screen and like wave up at him and stuff like that.
That sounds like so much fun. Yeah. I totally want to go to a screening.
It's very much a Rocky Horror Picture Show kind
like
of
you've
thing.
got to get really drunk and just go. That sounds
just laughing
wonderful.
And screaming at the screen.
Yeah,
sounds like an amazing time.
Definitely a life goal to go do that. Oh, Denny boy.
I keep talking about how there was another person who really probably directed this, if you can say it was directed by anybody, and that would be the script supervisor, Sandy Schklair. So that man actually probably directed this movie or did as best he could. The script supervisor, I believe, is credited as being Drew Caffrey, who I mentioned at the beginning had been dead for some time before this movie was even written. So the person actually, because you have to have a script supervisor, it's to maintain continuity and to make sure that your movie is moving along the right way and to find out to keep track of where you are in the script and where you are in shooting and all that kind of stuff. In the industry, it's also sometimes referred to as a script girl. Because it's often filled by young women. But yes, so Sandy Schklair is probably the person who really directed this movie, if you look at the job description of what a director does.
The music in this movie, we haven't mentioned it at all. It's apparently some guy who's like a professor at a university.
Yeah.
And mostly the only other stuff I could find he had done were like a bunch of documentaries. Miladin Milicevic, something like that. But anyways, though, this, whatever he actually has or has not done, I think it sounds a lot like the music from the Puppet Master movies, actually.
Which is interesting because Greg Sestero, one of his only other acting credits,
was in Retro Puppet Master,
exactly,
right?
playing young Toulon. Mm-hmm. And he talks about that experience in the book. We are in the credits, and I would really, really love to read a 5-star review, but we don't have any more on iTunes.
Any more reviews at all?
So if you would like to leave us a review for our show, please visit iTunes. On your iTunes app on your phone, you can actually just go to the website too and search for Popcorn Poops, and leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you think about the show, and we might read it on the show. We'd really like to. But yeah, so we are in credits. We made it.
Somehow.
We made it through the room. We made it out of the room somehow, one way or another.
Some of the credits themselves are entertaining. Like the one about, what was it, craft services?
Yeah, it's coming up. Craft services, they credit Los Angeles and San Francisco fast food. That's all it says. Los Angeles and San Francisco fast food. It's like, no. If there's a company that does your craft services, of course you give them a credit in your film.
But if nobody did it and you just sent someone to go get Taco Bell,
exactly.
You just don't worry about it, man.
Like I would even say, like, if you went to one place and you were like, hey, In-N-Out, why don't you cater our movie? And they're like, okay, I guess you can credit In-N-Out. But if you called lunch break and people went to like Wendy's or whatever, you're like, okay, craft services by fast food. I don't know.
So dumb.
These are our song credits right here.
Yeah, see,
Wayman Davis and Kitra Williams seem to be the two primary names, the two most prominent names on all the songs.
We've definitely got to get this soundtrack, though.
As far as like the kind of songs that they were shooting for, I think the not the score. The score is pretty goofy and cheap sounding.
Yeah.
But the songs are probably some of the more successful
elements
elements in the movie.
they sound like, higher quality porno songs, right?
Yeah.
Like, a little better than the worst. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you for joining us for the worst movie ever made for The Room. I can't believe we made it.
I'm really happy.
This was a lot of fun.
We did make it.
But this brings us to the end of another episode of the Popcorn Poops podcast. If you want to subscribe to us on iTunes, we'd really appreciate that. Please leave us a rating and review, and we might read it on the show. You can also follow us on our social media outlets on Twitter at Popcorn Poops, or on Facebook, where we update with hints and quotes and all sorts of things about the movies that we're going to be doing. So maybe you can guess the movie before we actually do it, before the episode comes out. You can also find us individually on Twitter. I'm under Dusty Cram Cram.
And I'm Jesse Casper.
And of course, as always, you can find us on our website at www.popcornpoops.com. And until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.
We are the Popcorn Poops.
Hey there, listeners. My name is Ray.
And I'm Luke. Together we are
the Super Hammered Brothers. On our podcast, we talk about video games, anime, comics,
and so much more. Hit a clip from one of our episodes.
Okay, think about it. When you see the old Batman movies and they're like, hey, I'm Bruce Wayne. 10 seconds later, I get into a costume, hey, I'm Batman. Same voice, same guy, and no one can put the two and two together. It drives me insane. For Christopher Nolan, he's like, hey, change the voice because you got to be different. So, hey, I'm Bruce Wayne, to, hey, I'm Batman. You gotta do something. It's stupid, but if you want to stay hidden and I did not know, that's how you do
Superman doesn't do that. All Superman does is put glasses on.
Yeah.
Hi, Clark.
Yeah.
Hi, Superman.
Where did Clark go? Have you seen him, Superman? Hey, Clark, when did you get here? Did you see Superman? He was just here.
You know what's funny, though, Ray? What if one time he forgets and puts glasses on? Like,
Super Clark? If you're interested in hearing more from us, go to our website, superhammeredbros.com.
You can also listen to us on iTunes, watch us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter.
Once again, we are the Super Hammered Bros, and we hope you will geek out with us.